Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video where we're continuing on from having just installed a nuke into a full-size hive, and I thought we'd just go through a very quick inspection on this Maisemore commercial poly hive that we've got, which is next door to where the nuke is. Let's just move the smoker. So as you can see, we're still in the oilseed rape apiary. This particular hive has been going really well, lots of brood, they've expanded really well, and we've got 2 supers on them. We added the second super, I think it was just a week ago, but we're going to go through a very quick inspection. This is the kind of inspection that I would carry out, let's say off camera, so I'm just going to go straight through them, have a quick look for queen cells. While I'm doing that, I'm going to be looking at the general health of the brood, of the flying bees, of the young adult bees. If we see the queen, great, but I'll be looking for eggs, which reminds me I need to go and put my glasses on before we open this hive up, otherwise I won't see anything. And it'll give you an idea of the kind of speed that I take when I'm inspecting. Now, the first thing to say is that normally I wouldn't stand this side and inspect, because we're kind of in the flight path for the bees that are coming back from the field. So I would normally be on the other side, but we didn't want to have the camera this side and have the bees kind of bombing the camera. So I'm kind of doing this on the wrong side of the hive, but the whole process will be fairly standard. So I'm going to pop to the truck and get my glasses, and then we'll open up this hive. So glasses are on, and we can get stuck in with this inspection. So the Maisemore poly hives have been really good actually this winter. The bees have overwintered nicely. Pop the roof down in front of the hive, and you can see that the bees are really working well in the top of this super. It's colony number 41. Now I won't be inspecting this particular box. I'm just going to ease it up and then pop a little bit of smoke beneath it, just to let them know that I'm coming in to say hello. And then we just lift that down, and there's a reasonable amount of weight in that box. And then we're into the super that we put on last week. Again, we're not going to inspect. As I look down, I can see that the bees are working it, they're drawing comb, so that's coming off as well, and that goes on top of the super that we've placed in front of the hive. Then we're into the brood box. I'm going to kneel down for this, still having 1 or 2 issues with my back, but that's just the way it is at the moment. So gently take this off, a quick look on the underside for the queen, just in case she's wandered onto the queen excluder, and then I lean that up against the front of the hive, and then use my hive tool just to break the seal at the edge where they've built the comb onto the side wall at the top, and then I can use my J tool. This one is from Bee Equipment online. It's got a nice J tool, has that sharp edge to it, and one of the problems that I face if I don't use a dummy board is exactly what you've just seen. As you take out this end frame, there's a tendency to roll bees, so I always prefer, if I can, to use a dummy board, but in some cases I just don't have the spare dummy boards to use. So quick bit of smoke. You can see that we've got some drone larvae here. While I'm actually going through, I'm just looking to see if I can visibly see any varroa that are crawling around on the top, but I can't see any varroa there, so we'll just cut that off. So we just moved the camera position a little bit, but I'll just take the opportunity to just clean off the rest of the top here. So this frame has been gummed up and stuck to the next frame along, so we may well find ourselves in a position where we've got to get some new wax in here, new foundation. And you can see this one is in quite a mess. So looking straight down onto this, I can see that we've got rudimentary queen cups. I'll open one just to have a quick check to see if there's anything in it. Nothing in it. Just check the other one as well. Nothing in that. No eggs or brood. Bees look healthy, the adult bees that is. Checking through these cells, I can see that we've got eggs in cells, so we know that the queen is here and the bees are producing queen cells. So this particular cell has got an egg in it, so that's going to become a queen cell. So we need to just go through and now that I know we've got eggs, we can actually take down any queen cells, and the way that we do that is simply by knocking the bees off and then squashing any queen cells that we see. Again, we've got queen cells on here, so a quick tap with the fleshy part of your thumb knocks all the bees off. You can then see exactly what you've got on the frame, and you can remove all of the queen cells. Now this is obviously a little bit more aggressive in terms of inspecting than you would normally carry out, so it might require a little bit more smoke. The problem with not shaking all of the frames is that you can easily miss queen cells. So no queen cells on this frame. So it's important that when you do a check for queen cells that you go through all of the frames and shake the bees off. So we've had 3 or 4 queen cells. We've got lots of eggs, so it doesn't mean that I need to necessarily be looking for the queen. Workers look, all the adult workers look fine, they look healthy. Again, no queen cells there. No queen cells there. And you just go through the entire colony checking for queen cells by giving them a quick shake. So we could have thought that we'd got all of them, but we've got one here, and again that has an egg in it, so a charged queen cell. So we get rid of that. The bees are starting to fly up a little bit, so we give them a little bit of smoke across the top bars just to mask any defense pheromones that might be drifting around. But there's lots of brood, there's lots of eggs into the last frame here. The brood looks healthy, the bees look healthy, and on this last frame we've got another charged queen cell as well. So take that off, that side's fine, that can go back in. Now, one of the only issues I have with these poly hives is that they tend not to slide terribly well, so I have to move just a few of the frames at a time, whereas with the metal runners on the other hives I can slide all of the frames in one go. So I know that probably these end 2 or 3 frames need to come out, so that's a job that we'll have to do perhaps next week. So this last frame can go back in. Just clean up this end where I've got a little bit of propolis and some debris from the floor, and that's the inspection complete. I'll take the queen excluder, give it a tap on top of the frames here so that we don't, if the queen has somehow found her way onto the top here, we can make sure that she gets knocked back in. I'm just taking off the wax from the queen excluder, and that will help with the inspection next time. And then this can go back on top. So this particular excluder isn't the right size for this hive, but it's the one that we've got on it at the moment. It works perfectly well. So we've got our queen excluder on, and then I'll just lift the supers back on, and I will just show you what we're looking at inside this particular super. Let's give them a little bit of smoke, so then we can clean off the top if we want to. And you can see that the bees are starting to draw the comb, although this one that I've picked, they've actually started to make a bit of an odd adjunct to the comb, so I'll just scrape that off and hopefully they'll know, straighten that out. So that can go back in. I'll shake the bees off because these manly frames can catch the bees at the side there, and then that can go back in and we're ready to close up. So we'll scrape all of the wax off the top. And again, this will hopefully make it easier for me to inspect next time round. Looks like the bees have... Here's an interesting thing. I will show you this, because despite giving them all of the possible room that they could want, they will go ahead and build comb where they want to. So if I split this apart, you can see they've created their very own piece of comb straight down the middle of that frame, or those two frames that were side by side. So I'm just going to pull that out. Leaves a hole in the middle, but they'll rebuild that. Slide this frame back in, and then we can leave them to carry on building comb and filling it with honey. So we need to just brush these bees off here. We don't want to be crushing bees. Just give them a little bit of smoke just to move them away. And then we can lift this back on with the minimum of fuss. Finally, the roof goes on, and that's an inspection completed. So it's a quick inspection just to go through that hive. Normally without the camera rolling I'd probably do it a little bit quicker still, but they look fine. Bees look great. One or two queen cells starting to pop up, which is kind of what we would expect at this time of the year. If you go through, shake all the bees off, that will reveal any queen cells that you've got, and you can knock those down. But please make sure that you have eggs, because if you knock queen cells down and then you discover you don't have any eggs, you could leave them in a queenless state, and then they'd be in a hopelessly queenless state because they can't produce any queen cells to replace the one that's either gone or is dead. So if you've got any questions, pop them down below and we'll catch up next time. Thanks for watching.